So the problem was that there was a plastic standoff here, and when that got cold, you were losing clamping force. And so you have to remove the screw for that spacer, the plastic spacer that is currently installed in this position. It's only one that has to be changed. I lied, there are two that have to be changed, this one and the one down below. Let's just look at this one for a moment, and the screw comes out. And so you're changing this spacer, and on this one that's on the top here, right next to this yellow disc, which is a safety device, you have to put the one here that has the Kapton tape on it, because this spacing was too tight for a metal spacer there. I originally had a plastic one, it didn't matter. Now we've got a metal one. So you have to put the spacer with the Kapton tape in this position next to the yellow disc. And you have to add on the screw these bevel washers. So they are washers that have a little cup shape to them, and when you tighten them down, they ensure that you have clamping force all the time. So that goes in there. And then, as I say, let's take the whole thing apart. What the heck? How many parts can we lose? So on this side, there are 4 screws that you have to remove to unclamp the whole thing. And when you do that, loosen those 4 screws, all right, 6 screws, like I said, 2 on the PC board. You can then separate the clamshells like that. You'll find nasty conductive grease on the inside where it clamps on. If you turn it over, all the screws will fall out, so don't do that. And then this is the spacer that we were talking about, change from plastic to metal, and then underneath is another one, and it looks like I'm providing them with all Kapton tape, so that's fine. They all are the same. But you also have to add the bevel washer underneath the screw head. So change the spacers, one above, one below. Add the bevel washers to each of those 2 screws to maintain clamping as temperature changes. And you shouldn't have to actually remove them. So the way I would do it, if you have access, and I just can't remember the details of it, I would leave these screws, these 2 here, engaged the whole time. So leave them in position. And if you have access, I would replace these one at a time. So I'd take this screw out, holding the spacer, set the spacer down somewhere, put the bevel washer on the screw with it out, and then put the screw through the new spacer, the metal spacer, and snug that screw up. Same thing on the bottom, on the other side. Same thing here, same thing here. Now these, the hole through the clamshells is slightly undersized, so when you have the screws properly tightened, there still will be a gap on one side or the other of the between the clamshells, and that's what produces the force on the line all the time. You can go ahead and get those screws moderately tight, and then put the 2 screws in that support the printed circuit boards. Now, as I say, I just can't remember the exact configuration. You may not have room to do that, so you may have to take the whole thing off to do that, to get access to one or the other of the spacers. I just can't tell you which way it is. The other element of this, of course, is the temperature sensor, which I have mounted up here on my aluminum bars, just as a way to simulate the whole assembly. If you do have to remove these and take them down to a bench or something, this will get disconnected, this will get disconnected, this will get disconnected to take the whole assembly out. Notice that there are keying plugs on each one of those, so these cables only go on one way. Because they're keying plugs at both ends of the cable. And this guy also has a keying plug in pin 1, so it can only go in one way, won't go in the wrong way, won't go in that way, it will go in that way. And that connector can be connected to either one of these boards. It doesn't matter. As I say, those 4 pins are connected in parallel. So then there's one other thing that you're supposed to do as part of this kit. On each of the boards there is a jumper. BOG jumper is what we used to call it. Just connects those 2 pins together.
Pull your hand away, so let me zoom in on the pins so you can show the 2 pins. Okay.
And I originally delivered the BOG heaters with a jumper on one of the 2 printed circuit boards. Turns out that there are circumstances where it can become unstable and you want to have a jumper on each of the 2 boards. Dressing my wires a little bit here. And I do, in fact, if you were able to see underneath there would be a jumper on the other board as well. You can probably see it underneath on one of these.
Sure, I can get there. Maybe on that one.
I don't know if I'm blocking.
Yeah, I can see a gray BOG jumper. On
Gray BOG jumper there, gray BOG jumper up on this. So there should be one on each of those boards. So that's updating and incidentally roughly explaining how to install these 3 in South Africa, where there are none at the moment, unfortunately.